I'm just out here minding my own business, feeding the animals and making sure everything's in order. The sun's barely up, and it's already shaping up to be a beautiful day. Got the smell of fresh hay in the air. The chickens are squawking like they own the place, and the goats are doing their usual morning dance for attention. Life on the farm. Simple, peaceful, predictable, or so I thought. So I decided it was time to give the old tractor a spin. She's a bit rusty, and makes more noise than a rock concert. But she's reliable. Gotta clear some brush that's been piling up on the edge of the field. I fire her up, and she roars to life, belching a puff of smoke that'd make any environmentalist cry. But hey, she gets the job done, and that's all that matters. As I'm rolling along, clearing out weeds and kicking up dust, I spot something moving at the end of the driveway. Squinting against the sun, I make out a figure power walking my way like she's on some kind of mission from the HOA gods. Yep, it's Karen, the self-proclaimed queen of the neighborhood. She's got her phone gripped like a weapon and her face all scrunched up like she just stepped in something nasty. I cut the engine, hop down, and dust off my hands, bracing myself for whatever nonsense she's about to spew. Sure enough, the second she's within earshot, she's already flapping her mouth like a malfunctioning siren. "This thing is a disgrace," she shrieks, jabbing a perfectly manicured finger at my beloved tractor. "That rusty hunk of junk is an absolute eyesore. It's lowering property values." I raise an eyebrow, half wondering if she's serious. "It's a tractor, Karen. It's a farm. What do you expect?" She looks at me like I just insulted her ancestors. The HOA guidelines clearly state that any machinery visible from the street must be maintained in pristine condition or stored out of sight. You're making the whole neighborhood look like a scrapyard. I can't help but snort. "Karen, this here's a working farm, not a country club. And last I checked, I own this land, not the HOA. She huffs, clearly not impressed with my reasoning. "Well, I've already reported it. The HOA will be sending you a notice of violation, and if you don't comply, there will be consequences." Oh, great. More paperwork and more headaches. I just give her a shrug. "Do what you gotta do. I'm just trying to keep the place running." She doesn't like that one bit. "This is unacceptable. I will not have my property value plummet because of your laziness." I just stare at her, not sure whether to laugh or give her a piece of my mind. But honestly, she's not worth the energy. I just lean back against the tractor, giving her my best unimpressed look. "You done?" She scoffs, giving me one last glare before storming back down the driveway, already barking into her phone about escalating the situation. I shake my head, muttering to myself, unbelievable. Then I crank the tractor back up and get back to work. Ain't nobody got time for Karen's nonsense today. I lean back against my old tractor, wiping the sweat from my brow, and try to keep a straight face while Karen continues her rant. I swear it's like she's on a mission to make everyone around here as miserable as she is. "Karen," I say as patiently as I can manage, "this is private property. The HOA doesn't have jurisdiction over working farm equipment, and I'm well within my rights to use it." She crosses her arms and lets out this dramatic huff, like I just insulted her entire bloodline. "That pile of junk is an eyesore. I have potential buyers touring the neighborhood this weekend, and your rusty garbage is going to ruin everything." I just shake my head. "It's not junk, it's a tractor, and it's staying right where it is." That's when she gets that wild glint in her eye, like she just found a loophole to ruin my day. "If you don't move that thing immediately, I will call the police and have it confiscated. You can't just clutter up the community with your trash." I can't help but smirk at that one. Confiscate my tractor? Seriously? "Go ahead," I say, giving her a little wave. "Knock yourself out." Her eyes narrow, like she's trying to figure out why I'm not shaking in my boots. But of course, she can't resist the urge to make a scene. She whips out her phone and dials 911 like she's reporting a murder. "Yes, hello, this is Karen from the HOA. I'm reporting an illegal, unsightly piece of machinery cluttering up a residential property. It's a rusted tractor, and it's violating our neighborhood's aesthetic standards." I'm trying not to laugh while she's practically shouting into the phone. I can just imagine the dispatcher, on the other end, wondering what the heck this lady's talking about. Karen glances at me triumphantly, like she's already picturing my tractor getting towed away. "Yes, Send someone right away. This is a serious violation, and I demand it be removed immediately. She hangs up and gives me this smug little smirk, like she's just signed my eviction notice. You're in big trouble now, she sneers. The police will make sure your mess is gone by tonight. I just shrug, giving her my most nonchalant grin. We'll see about that. She looks almost offended that I'm not groveling at her feet. You think you're above the rules, don't you? Well, newsflash, you're not. This neighborhood has standards. Karen, I say slowly, trying not to sound too amused. You really have no idea what you're doing, do you? That sets her off even more. She's muttering under her breath about how she's going to get me banned from the community and how I'm ruining everyone's property values. I just lean back against the tractor again, crossing my arms and waiting for the inevitable. She doesn't realize that calling the cops is the worst mistake she could have made. It's almost sad. Almost. She paces back and forth, huffing and puffing like a pissed-off rooster, and I just keep my cool, knowing exactly how this is going to play out. She has no clue what she's just set herself up for, and honestly, I'm kind of looking forward to it. Maybe a little reality check will do her some good. Or, at the very least, it'll give the cops a good laugh. Either way, I'm not sweating it. Let's see how she handles what's coming her way. The patrol car rolls up, and 2 officers step out, looking around like they're trying to figure out why they got called to a farm in the middle of nowhere. Karen practically sprints over to them, pointing dramatically at my tractor, like it's some kind of ticking time bomb. There it is, she screeches. That hunk of junk is violating neighborhood standards. I demand you confiscate it immediately and issue a citation for improper property maintenance. The officers exchange a look, one eyebrow raised, clearly trying to process what the hell she's on about. The taller cop, Officer Mitchell, glances at me and gives a subtle nod. Yeah, he knows me. I just give him a slight shrug in return, enjoying the show. Karen's still going off about how the tractor is ruining the aesthetic harmony of the neighborhood. And the other officer, a younger guy named Lopez, is fighting back a grin. He clears his throat and tries to sound professional. Ma'am, could you explain exactly what the issue is here? Karen puffs up like a peacock, waving her phone around like it's a magic wand. This man has parked a rusty, filthy tractor on his property. It's lowering property values and violating HOA guidelines. You have to make him remove it immediately. Officer Mitchell glances over at me, clearly amused. Sir, is this your tractor? I nod, keeping a straight face. Sure is. Had it for years. Use it for clearing brush and maintaining the land. Karen huffs like she's personally offended by the existence of agriculture. I don't care what it's for. It's hideous and makes the whole neighborhood look trashy. I'm telling you to confiscate it. Lopez can't hold back a snort of laughter anymore, and Mitchell quickly turns away to hide his grin. Ma'am, Lopez says, trying to sound serious, are you aware of whose property this is? Karen rolls her eyes like it's the dumbest question she's ever heard. Of course I know. It belongs to that nuisance right there. She jabs a finger in my direction, and I want him fined and his tractor impounded. Mitchell takes a deep breath, probably to keep from bursting out laughing. Ma'am, this property belongs to Chief. Last name. Karen's face goes from red to white in record time. She stares at me like she's seeing a ghost. Chief, she stammers. Chief of what? Officer Lopez grins. Chief of police. The silence is deafening, and Karen's jaw practically hits the dirt. You're the chief of police? She squeaks like the words don't make sense. I give her a casual nod, not bothering to hide my smirk. That's right. Been chief for about 5 years now. She's frozen, mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water, clearly scrambling to figure out how to backpedal out of this mess. I didn't know, she whispers like it's somehow my fault she didn't do her homework before causing a scene. Mitchell, still fighting back a grin, steps forward. Ma'am, it seems like there's been a bit of a misunderstanding. Chief's tractor is completely legal, and farm equipment on private property doesn't violate any HOA regulations. You might want to double-check the guidelines before calling us out here next time. Karen looks like she's about to faint, mumbling something incoherent before turning on her heel and speed-walking back toward the street. Lopez gives me a quick nod. Sorry about that, Chief. We'll make a note in the log just in case she tries this again. No worries, Lopez. Appreciate you guys coming out. They head back to their patrol car, and I just stand there for a minute, watching Karen stomp off like a kid who didn't get her way. I give the tractor a pat, laughing to myself. Gotta love when karma shows up right on time. Karen recovers just enough to scoff, trying to play it off like she's still got some kind of upper hand. I don't care who you are, she snaps. The law is the law, and you're breaking it. Just because you're some big shot cop doesn't mean you get to ignore HOA rules. Mitchell and Lopez exchange a look, clearly wondering how someone can be so dense. Mitchell steps forward, maintaining a professional tone despite the smirk tugging at his lips. Actually, ma'am, I think you're misunderstanding a few things here. Farm equipment on private property isn't regulated by the HOA. Plus, you're on private land right now without permission. Karen's eyes widen, and she glances around as if suddenly realizing she's deep into my property without an invite. Still, she crosses her arms and tries to save face. Well, I'll take it up with the board. This whole place is an eyesore. You can't just clutter up the neighborhood with rusty old machinery. I can't help but chuckle at that one. Ma'am, I say calmly, this is a farm. The machinery is part of maintaining the property. You know, cutting brush, hauling feed, that sort of thing. It's not some random junkyard. Karen still looks like she's itching for a fight. But Lopez finally cuts in, clearly done with her nonsense. Ma'am, this is Sheriff last name's property. He's well within his rights to use his tractor here. Maybe it's best if you head on home and let him get back to work. That's when it hits her. Sheriff. Not just some random cop. Sheriff. Her face goes pale again, and her mouth opens and closes a few times like a broken toy. She's trying to make words happen, but nothing comes out. Mitchell decides to put the nail in the coffin. Sheriff, is everything all right here? Do you need us to file a report about trespassing or harassment? That does it. Karen's eyes practically bug out of her head. No, that's not necessary, she blurts out, waving her hands like she's trying to swat away a bad dream. I was just concerned, just looking out for the community. I just give her a polite nod. Appreciate the concern, Karen. But next time, maybe check your facts before barging onto private property and making demands. You could save yourself a lot of trouble. She's already backing away, mumbling some nonsense about checking the rules and filing a complaint. But it's obvious she's completely humiliated. Mitchell and Lopez give me a nod before heading back to their cruiser, still trying to hide their grins. As Karen disappears down the road, I can't help but shake my head and laugh. Honestly, I half expect her to round up the entire HOA for an emergency meeting about out-of-control farming practices. I give the old tractor a pat, fire it up again, and get back to work, knowing full well Karen won't be showing her face around here for a good long while. Sometimes it's good to remind folks that just because they're loud doesn't mean they're right. As Karen scurries away, her face still beet red, she stammers out some half-hearted apology about how it was all just a misunderstanding. She's clearly trying to play it off like she was just being cautious, but nobody's buying it. Lopez shakes his head, giving her a stern look. Ma'am, I'd advise you to stop making false reports and harassing residents. This is the second time this month we've had to respond to one of your calls that turned out to be completely unfounded. Mitchell chimes in, clearly not cutting her any slack. You know, making false police reports is a crime. You're lucky the sheriff here isn't pressing charges for trespassing. Maybe next time think before you dial 911 over something that isn't even illegal. Karen's eyes are darting around like she's looking for an escape hatch. She mumbles something about just wanting to protect the community and claims she didn't know I was the sheriff. Then she tries to save face with one last jab. Well, maybe you should still make it look nicer. It's just an eyesore. I raise an eyebrow and give her a little smirk. Funny. I don't remember Karen's personal aesthetic standards being part of the law. That one hits hard. Karen practically trips over her own feet, backing away. She mumbles something completely incoherent and hurries down the driveway like her life depends on it. The officers watch her go, clearly doing their best not to laugh outright. Mitchell turns to me once she's out of earshot. Man, she really doesn't know when to quit, does she? I chuckle, shaking my head. Nah, she'll be back. Karen's like a bad penny. You think she's gone, and then she shows up again yelling about violations. Lopez grins. Next time, just park that tractor right in her driveway. Maybe that'll get the point across. We share a good laugh before the officers head back to their patrol car. As they drive off, I lean back against the tractor and take a deep breath, soaking in the peaceful quiet that's finally returned to my farm. I know Karen's ego probably took a pretty solid hit today, and honestly, I'm just glad I didn't have to actually write her up for trespassing. The last thing I need is to deal with paperwork because she doesn't understand basic property rights. Shaking my head, I get back to work, figuring that's the last I'll see of Karen for at least a few days. I can't help but grin, though. Something tells me she's going to be spending the next week frantically flipping through HOA rulebooks, looking for something, anything she can use against me. Good luck with that, Karen. As I climb back onto my tractor, dusting off my gloves, I notice a few neighbors starting to gather at the edge of my driveway. They're chuckling and shaking their heads, clearly having caught the tail end of Karen's little meltdown. Old Man Jenkins ambles over first, leaning on his cane with a smirk. Sheriff, I gotta hand it to you. I've been wanting to see Karen get knocked down a peg for years. That was beautiful. I laugh, tipping my hat at him. Didn't exactly plan it, but it worked out all right. Linda, from across the street, waves, still grinning like she just won the lottery. About time someone stood up to that busybody. Last week, she tried to fine me for having wind chimes, said they were too noisy for the neighborhood. Can you believe that? A few more folks chime in with their own stories. Turns out, Karen's been on a one-woman crusade to whip the neighborhood into some kind of cookie-cutter fantasy. Fines for mismatched garden gnomes, threats over porch decorations, even nasty notes about kids playing basketball in the driveway. Dave, the guy with the biggest garden on the block, shakes his head. She told me I had too many flower pots, said it looked cluttered. Lady's got a stick so far up her, well, you know. Everyone bursts out laughing, and I can't help but grin. It's nice to see folks letting loose a bit, especially after dealing with Karen's nonsense for so long. Linda suddenly snaps her fingers. You know, we ought to start a petition. Get enough signatures to limit her power, or vote her out as HOA president altogether. I'm done living under her reign of terror. The group murmurs in agreement, and someone even starts drafting ideas on their phone. I give a little nod, liking where this is going. If y'all need help with the paperwork or making sure it's legit, just let me know. Happy to lend a hand. Dave gives me a thumbs up. Appreciate that, Sheriff. Feels like the whole neighborhood's finally waking up and realizing we don't have to take her crap anymore. With a satisfied nod, I fire up the tractor again and give the folks a little wave. As they disperse, still chatting animatedly about getting Karen out of power, I get back to clearing the field. There's a lightness in the air that wasn't there before. Like the whole place just collectively took a deep breath and let it out. I guess sometimes it just takes one good call-out to knock a tyrant off their pedestal. I steer the tractor down the row, whistling a little tune as I go. Maybe by the end of the month, we'll be looking at a Karen-free HOA. That's one project I can definitely get behind.